Hello and welcome to the Kitchen Conversations podcast. My name is Patrycja Rozwora and I'm the host of this platform where we speak about contemporary art from so-called Eastern Europe. In each episode, you're going to be introduced to one artist or researcher whose visual or activist practice sheds light onto the complex former socialist region with all its histories, cultures, languages, foods, but also traumas and their inevitable contemporary consequences. This podcast is a fully independent platform existing since May 2020, meaning it is not a funded project and it is self-run by me, myself, and I. If you enjoy the monthly conversations, please consider supporting the podcast by making a single donation on buymeacoffee.com/kitchenconversations or becoming my monthly Patreon via the Patreon website. All the needed links can be found in the show notes of this episode. Hello to another episode of Kitchen Conversations. My today's guest is a friend and Czech-Chinese photographer, Linda Zhengová. Her work is rooted in an exploration of human emotions, ranging from vulnerability and trauma to the search of happiness. I'm happy to share with you our honest and generous conversation where Linda speaks about often contested topics such as photographing nudes, erotica, as well as censorship and ways of protecting yourself as a female photographer, oftentimes working with complete strangers. Let's jump right into it. Welcome, Linda, to Kitchen Conversations. After so many years, we are reconnected.
How great.
So happy to see you again.
We still look the same now, so it's good.
Yeah, I think it didn't change much, but I think a lot has changed. We, both of us moved countries. Both of us are in quite different place at the moment. And we met in Amsterdam. We were working for the same photo gallery / publisher.
How long time was it ago? Six years ago? Maybe even more?
Yeah, I think 5, something like this. Yeah, maybe 5, 6 years. Because we didn't somehow spend so much time together. I guess we were always very busy working, no?
I was always sitting downstairs and you were always sitting upstairs.
Yeah, maybe that's the thing.
But maybe that was the problem.
But what I remember that you were always so efficient with working. And so both of us worked as editors at the publisher. Mm-hmm. And you always wrote so many texts in one day and I barely managed to do one. I remember that.
I was the AI before AI became the thing to write text.
When people ask you, so what kind of photography do you do? What kind of photographer are you, Linda? Are you a photographer? Are you an artist? Who are you?
Interesting question because I never really know how to answer it. I always say that I like to take photographs of people and the energy between us, between them, the vulnerability that we share, some kind of human and truthful element that gets put into shadow because we live in a very pretense and surface level society. So I still try to dig out some real emotions and feelings. So I would say I would photograph dead. I work now only in analog photography. I also specialize a lot in photographing women, but I try to break that. And especially this year, I put myself a challenge to photograph more men. And I moved to Paris 1 year ago. As you said, we were working together in Amsterdam, where I was between The Hague and Amsterdam for the past 10 years. And now recently it was my 1 year anniversary in Paris, where I made this big jump to become a full-time artist / freelancer. So it's always a roller coaster what is going to happen at the end of the month and what kind of gigs you get to do or not at all. That is the main difference. But I feel so much more happier and freer, I would say.
That's so good. And I think Paris allows for way more somehow freedom in all kinds of ways. It feels to me, in comparison to Amsterdam, I think similar to Berlin, there is way more unorganized maybe places or places that still
I 100% agree. I felt like in the Netherlands, everything is institutionalized, maybe too much for my personal taste. Here in Paris, if you really want to do something, you don't have that many obstacles to do it. I see a lot of pop-ups here, events in the street. It just feels more free, and there is more open space for different types of artworks. Whereas in the Netherlands, I feel there is like some kind of singularity in art, what is accepted as this is good and this is bad, and in terms of thematics too. I have this feeling that maybe in Paris, my art is also more accepted.
You were studying photography, correct? Right? That's also your background, your education.
I initially started as a diplomat. That was my former studies. At the same time, in the Netherlands, the nice thing was that if you do two studies at the same time, you can pay only one. So I took a part-time study of photography at the Royal Academy of Art in The Hague. And I did these two things simultaneously. It was very clear for me after the Bachelor of Diplomacy that it's not really the route where I want to go. So then I pursued a master only related to media theory, film theory, and photography. And I stuck with art until now.
And why did you decide to now exclusively work with analog photography? Or do you also do digital for, let's say, jobs? Or?
Actually, I don't even have a digital camera at this moment. And it was out of a circumstance because I used to have a digital camera for a very long time and it died in a swimming pool. And I decided maybe now is the time to change it.
It's quite expensive or not?
Yes, but I feel that I'm very selective when I shoot a picture. So I try to photograph way less amount than when I photographed on my digital camera, because otherwise I would be bankrupt.
Totally. Do you still use your phone for photographing? I guess so, right? For sketching ideas or something like this?
Sometimes I do like a light test or like a backstage, but I never use it as the official pictures. I for instance, got to know that Paul Koiker is using his phone to do some campaigns, and it's the official picture with an iPhone. It became quite trendy especially in fashion, to photograph on iPhone. It has a good resolution, but for me it's a bit different process.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of your process, I have to say, like, what you do is kind of outside of my box of art. I'm very also curious about it, and I don't know so much about this genre of photography, so I'm also super open for you to share it here. It would be great to hear more about it. I don't know how much you also want to share, because I feel it's also a type of art that maybe you shouldn't speak so much about or explain so much about. So I'm also curious
I can share a little bit, of course. My work is so much based on spontaneous energy and on the particular moments when I see this person and when we meet. So I don't plan my shoots very much. I usually photograph in people's apartments. And I prefer it because it's personal, and the apartments also reflect something about the person's personality, what they like, what they don't like. And I like to not know the environment, because it challenges me to work in the space in that particular moment. And up until a very, very long time, I didn't do any mood boards or anything like that. I just went to the space. But then I realized that for some people, it's very hard to imagine what I actually want to do. But I think the core of my work is that I mostly collaborate with strangers, people that I don't meet more than 2 times, ideally. And that is because between us, there is this open space, because we don't know each other. So we can project a lot of things, and this goes both ways. Sometimes people surprise me so much, and this moment of surprise is just something that I love to capture or reflect in my images. And I feel I also reflect myself or mirror myself a lot in the people that I photograph. And I find it easier to do that with people that I don't know very well in comparison to people that I know for years. Then it's a little bit harder to project something because you just know them too much.
I can imagine that. And saying strangers, like, how do you meet the people? Is it just like encounters on the street, or
it depends? Sometimes people message me on Instagram that they would like to be photographed by me, or when I travel, when I do an artist residency, it is even more documentary approach, I would say. Sometimes I'm in a bar, in a club, in the street, and I see somebody, so I just go and approach them, ask if they would like to be photographed, and I arrange like this meeting. Shooting, it almost sounds weird to call it a photo shoot because it's more an encounter that I try to establish with this person, because I'm genuinely curious about the people, and I think I'm very selective in who I end up photographing, because I cannot photograph everybody. I think every photographer has certain aesthetic or characteristic features of a person that attracts them to them. For me, it's predominantly women, and usually people in my kind of age group, to reflect my kind of generation, I would say, because I feel I cannot really speak for children or the elderly as much as people who are around my age. It's the same with this projection idea, because I can relate more maybe. Also, I often work with people who have a bit nomadic personality or who come from mixed backgrounds, which of course relates to my background. So there are some kind of similarities that I search for in people. And in terms of physical characteristics, I would say there is something in the eyes that I look for. I cannot describe what it is, but when I see it, I know it.
That's so cool. And when you do these encounters or like this photographic journey with them, to not call it photo shoot, how big of a time is like actually the photographing, and how much time do you spend actually chatting or like trying stuff out?
I think like 70% of the time is chatting, and then maybe 30% of the time is actual photographing. Because for me, it's such an important process to have the person relaxed and trust me. Because if I start photographing too soon, I can sense some blockage from the person, and they cannot open up energetically completely. So for me, it's a sign that maybe we have to talk a little bit more, or maybe even the day itself is not right. So I'm not gonna push it. Overall, my shoots are around 1.5 hours to 2 hours, from which I think the majority of actual photographing takes like 20 to 30 minutes.
And how do you kind of protect yourself from, because of course working with strangers also comes with some form of, or some risk, I guess, for yourself as well. Like, how do you have a strategy of like protecting yourself as well?
I mean, if I work with women, I didn't ever experience any risk there. But when I worked in more projects abroad, I encountered situations that were really unsafe. And just by working as a female photographer in the streets and going by yourself or working at night, it is dangerous. And immediately you get this difference when you work as a man, because you are not looked at as a prey, you know. I did feel that a lot when I traveled for my last project to Latin America. I had some crazy encounters there that sometimes I just messed up the transportation, and I ended up at a place that I was really not supposed to end up at. And you just have to figure out a solution real fast. But sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's harder, because one time also on my second day in Buenos Aires, I got like semi-kidnapped in a taxi, which was not a nice experience. And it's the kind of experience that everybody warns you of when you travel. Be careful with the Ubers, and be careful with the transportation. But like, what does it mean to be careful? How can you actually protect yourself from this? You need to travel. The cities are massive. So the only thing I learned from such experiences is to try to stay calm and talk yourself out of the situation. That's the only thing that I thought kind of works, and I'm still here.
Well, so exactly. I wanted to say you're still here. So you did the right thing.
Exactly. But I still have hope that, I don't know, like my last project that I worked on was about happiness. It was a 5-year project where I traveled and I asked people what happiness means to them, while I also documented how the definition of this concept transforms for me based on experiences, these encounters. I try to think that people are inherently good than inherently bad. And thanks to this project, it kind of made me think that. So with this thought, even if I'm in an uncomfortable situation, I still try to remind myself that maybe the person is going through something, or maybe the person is pushed to a certain mindset and that's not who they truly are. So that's why the talking can help.
That's a very positive way of seeing things, but I guess that also keeps you going, right? And not kind of stay at home and be scared, but dare to go out and then find these amazing people and encounters.
True, and I feel we live in this kind of times where it's very rare to read any positive news. It's only a lot of negativity and anxiety-inducing reportage, that it feels like nothing good is actually happening in the world. And I think with the project, I actually try to shift the energy towards realizing that there is a lot of good people and good places and a lot of great things still happening. We just have to notice them more. And of course, I'm not denying that bad things are happening, but as you said, we cannot just live in complete isolation. We have to learn how to live and be present in the current times that we are in. And the way to do that is to try and to keep going.
And the photographs you create, or the images you create, are, I would say, in the genre of erotica. Would you say that? Is that something that you like to be boxed in?
There is erotic charge in my photographs for sure, and it's a kind of connecting thread throughout my work. I wouldn't say that all encounters were erotic at all, but I find it as erotic situations which do not end up in any real erotica. It's just like an idea, a potential of things. And this energy is something that I like to work with because it's part of imagination. I think erotica and porn are very different from each other, where porn is very physical. You are served everything you're there to see, whereas erotica is suggestive, imaginative. So it gives you still space to put your own fantasies, desires onto those images. Because I still think, even though I photograph nudity, I still don't consider those images necessarily explicit, because what does it even mean? Like throughout history, nudity is part of cave drawings of like ancient things. For me, nudity is so natural that sometimes when people point out something, I don't even see it. And maybe it's just different point of views.
And of course, because you often photograph nudes, you have to deal with a lot of censorship, especially on social media or internet, where, it's very much, let's say, protecting us from something we don't really know.
Yes, it's terrible. I mean, I try to be careful because I try to maintain my Instagram account alive, because I also know for me as a freelance photographer or artist, this is the way how today we get noticed, how we get jobs, how we can create some kind of sense of community. I find it so limiting because I feel like I cannot express myself or show my images the way I want. So I approach my Instagram as giving people a little taste of what my work is. And in my books, they can dive fully in, because I'm in charge of the sequence and I don't have to censor anything. For instance, now I'm working on a project that is called Excess Aura Transcendence, and I started it late last year. And it's a project about excess, about when we crossed a certain limit, when I explored certain taboos and tried to dissect them. And this project is explicit. I can say that way more explicit than maybe happiness is, which was more, I wouldn't say safe, but because I often photograph in the street, I didn't photograph people naked on the street. It was just more spontaneous, whereas this new project is really like intense and in your face. And I really want it that way because I feel we are now, especially the state of art for me is so polished, so I don't know, like so smooth, that everything is so focused on aesthetics, on consumerism, on sales, that I really want to do something that just stays in people's heads.
So do you have like a strategy of how you post stuff that it doesn't get taken down and that you can still kind of share a little bit of your works there? Is there some secrets?
I try to do some crops or like blur things out, or that's the only thing I can do. I mean, or I just post the facial expressions, and lately I feel that Instagram started censoring faces too. If they think it's like erotic facial expression, they would put it down.
Crazy. And probably it's some kind of robots deciding it, or is it actually people?
Oh, well, the thing is that I noticed that if it happens very recently after I post something, it's the algorithm is the robot. But if suddenly posts from very, very long time ago start to get reported, then it's a human report. And with a few friends, we were discussing this, and we found out that there are many, many Facebook groups, like conservative groups, that do these group attacks on certain Instagram accounts to try to shut them down. So I had this at the beginning of this year. Suddenly, like 30 images disappeared from my account from like 2-3 years ago. So like, this is not an AI robot. This is somebody consciously trying to cancel me.
Your favorite way of showing the work as it should be seen is through publications, right? Or do you like seeing your work as big prints in a gallery? Is that also something you're aiming for?
I'm trying to experiment with exhibitions, particularly this year, because in 2 weeks I will be exhibiting in London.
Wow, great.
HBH Gallery. I like this particular exhibition because it's not only of photographs, it's a group show of painters, sculptors, and few photographers. So I like that it's mixed and it creates a universe. I don't like when my images are in a white cube space, framed very neatly, because I like when there is some kind of interaction, that it's not a hierarchical space. So recently, with curator and publisher of my last book, Lucia Czerna, we did a punk exhibition in Leipzig in Germany, in the festival's toilets, and that was fun. I love that thing. It was like just stickers of majority of my archive from the past few years, and I saw how people engaged with the work, and that was important for me. I saw women trying to peek to the men's toilets if the display is different. So I like these kind of things that people are not passively consuming the work, but they actually, it leaves a certain impact on them. And with books, it's like a personal universe that I try to create. It's more intimate. Usually one person opens it at a time and they decide when they want to open it. And I like to create narrative. Everybody can engage with that work on their own. It's their private thing suddenly.
And speaking of toilets, if I understood correctly, you also got inspired by creating your YouTuber's name from one of such toilets. You have a YouTube channel where you speak about a life of a freelance photographer and an artist as well, and how to combine the passion with the survival. I really enjoyed watching a few of your videos, and some of my questions for the podcast were inspired by it.
Oh, so nice.
Maybe you can share why you started vlogging and the name of your persona on YouTube.
So Ammonia Void is the name of my YouTube channel, and I started it around 1.5 years ago, not a long time before I moved to Paris. But the initial thought started when I used to work in Rotterdam, and every day I used to go the same path, and I was passing this urinal, and on this path I always had these questions, existential questions going through my head, and I was like, why is nobody asking these questions, or why is nobody talking about these struggles? Because as you said, on social media I constantly feel this success narratives, and it's not necessarily joy, it's more like competitiveness and still very much capitalist logic. So I thought I would like somebody to create a channel where these questions are posed, or where I don't feel alone in this journey. And then the last day how the name came about was when I was passing this urinal again, and there was a glass of wine with a liquid that I don't think was wine, and I thought, well, I took a picture of that urinal, and it's the profile picture of my YouTube channel, and I said, the urinal is Ammonia Void. Since then, I've been vlogging about different kind of questions that I have about professional and personal work, about financial struggles, about trying to find inspiration, also a little bit spiritual things, like how can we trust our gut feeling, or how do you deal with dangerous situations, or photographing people in an empathetic way. Also, I find it so shocking that no one ever raised a question about empathy or ethics in photography of people at my school. So I think people should think about it or talk about it, and I want to create some imaginary community, and I'm still trying. I wish I could do it more often, but I think now I'm releasing an episode every 2 or 3 weeks, so I can keep up with this tempo, not more.
Yeah, definitely. It's very important to kind of keep bringing the content out. But yeah, there's good and bad times, right? It's not always as easy.
Yeah, I'm sure you know it, because sometimes I just wake up and I'm like, I don't want to change from my pajamas, or I don't really want to speak in front of a camera. I think that was the biggest obstacle for me, that I felt so uncomfortable with showing my face very much, because before I almost never put up pictures of myself on Instagram, mostly of my work. So I just felt it felt a little bit confronting, but now I got more comfortable with it, and also with maybe public speaking, which I was not or maybe I'm still not a fan of very much, but it helps. It's like part of certain growth or challenge, I'd say.
But in terms of showing yourself to the people, I saw in some of your projects you actually do show yourself, and you kind of place yourself on the other side of the camera. And I wanted to ask you about that. Maybe you can share something about more personal projects and how it connects to perhaps also your autobiographical aspect.
I think in my photography, I rarely take self-portraits, but I like to include parts of my body in my frames, especially my feet or my hands, because it shows the closeness between me and the person that I photograph. And it's like a mark that I was there and it happened, and we were all there together. I think with particular project, Oxymoron was a book that I released with again, Lucia Cherna. My initial idea was to only put pictures of other people there, or maybe a little bit of some of my limbs, but not necessarily my face. And she was the one who pushed me to put my self-portraits from that period. And I was really uncomfortable, but that's why I thought it was great to work with her, an experienced editor, to push me out of my comfort zone. And, like editing your own work is biased. And you also, when you see yourself, you also want to put up a certain image of yourself. She kind of helped me let go of this this idea, and I just wanted to be very transparent in the process, because in the end I realized those pictures were very important for the project, because it's the body of work that was about not a very nice period of my life, and it documented the recovery of a painful period in a, let's say, non-conventional way. I started putting up advertisements to see what people are doing behind closed doors, and those people who answered, I photographed, and it was very, very peculiar, very peculiar stories and images, and it went far. And part of crossing the limit was also exposing myself and accepting who I am and how I deal with things. And photography just became the medium in that process.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Of course.
A big part of your work, I feel, is also writing texts, poetry. Can you say a few words about how you combine those? What comes first? Is it the image or the text?
I do it simultaneously. Sometimes I just write in between when I'm making pictures. Like now I was photographing for 4 years, one project, and I think the new project on transcendence will take minimum 2 years. So in those spans of time, I write too. For happiness, it was diaristic entries most of the time with definitions of happiness and some essays. And for transcendence, there are some, let's say, stories and thoughts. It's more philosophical, I'd say. A little bit along the lines of Ammonia Void in my YouTube channel. That's how I approach this new project. I can share what I wrote about in the first text entry of maybe that book. I don't know if it's gonna come out as a book yet, but we'll see. And it was my experience in Sao Paulo, where I entered porn cinema that opened in the 50s. And it's going nonstop. They never really close. And it was such an intense experience. I think one of maybe the most intense experience of my life, of a place where I went. And so I tried to make a record of those impressions or what I saw, because I think over time I will forget the exact details of what happened. But so it's just like a memory record and a proof that these places still exist and that they make you feel in a way that you keep searching for in life. And maybe it's an extreme way of feeling, but at least it makes you feel something. And I deal with the idea of numbness in a lot of my works, because I feel that I try to trigger some strong emotions, and that's why my work might feel a bit intense for certain people. But it's my coping mechanism, I guess.
What would you, in an ideal way, like to continue with in this year or in the next coming years? What are you mostly looking forward to?
Well, my big plan with the same editor is to release the happiness book, probably in September. We're working very hard on it now, because it's going to be a thick book, big monograph like this. So that is number one priority. The second thing that I'm really, really looking forward to is to launch a magazine. So also with Lucy and the graphic designer Łukasz Gula that I work with, you know him.
Yeah,
I work with since I was in Amsterdam and on all my books.
Greetings to Łukasz.
Plan to launch ideally this autumn a magazine about intimacy, vulnerability, connection, community, and real photography, I'd say. What does that even mean? I don't know, but we'll see when it comes out. But yeah, I try to. I feel there's less and less magazines that are really photographic. So I would like to go back to that while having a contemporary twist in the curation and in the design. which will be Vukash's job to do. But I'm really excited for it.
Super nice. I will be following the release date and will order one copy. Yay. Of course. I love to have like physical things from my guests. It's such a nice collection already. Well, last but not least, I told you that we'll be finishing at 6 because you have a French class. So we have 4 minutes.
We'll be fast. I don't. This is my integration in Paris. It's part of my daily life here now.
Of course, it's important.
Go through it.
I don't want to miss on a food question. At the end, I always ask my guests about food. I don't know if food is somehow related to your work in some way. I guess it can always be. Yeah, your favorite food from home or a place that is close to your heart?
It's funny because food is so important for me. I'm really like obsessed with food because I think it also relates so much to my work, or how I feel about food is very much how I feel about my work, because it's so full of emotions, sensations, flavors. I have very many food memories and smell memories. So it is all related. And when I think about this question, I can think about my dad's dumplings from north of China that he always cooks like 70 pieces for us 4, and we all ate them because they're so good. Or my mom's lamb with plums. I have these food memories very much related to my idea of home, and that is when we are together as a family, and that is rare because we all live on different places. I live in Paris, my brother in Amsterdam, my dad in Hong Kong, and my mom in Czech Republic. So home for us is sharing food together, and these 2 particular dishes really come to my mind.
And this was it for today. Thank you for reaching till the end of this episode. The next one is coming in 4 weeks, always on Monday. Please follow the podcast and leave a rating. I'm also happy to hear your feedback, so feel free to write me via Instagram or by email. All the needed info you will find in the show notes of this episode. In the meantime, take good care, and we hear each other soon.